how many people still believe in love at first sight? Is it now just this phenomenon that's often regarded as something better left in a children's fairy tale book? Well, for one girl, it wasn't just this thing in a storybook. It was her dream. And one day, it would become her reality. Now, as some of you might have guessed, that girl was me. And when I was 8 years old, I found my Prince Charming, the man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And that man, I am proud to say, is my husband, Jonathan Burke. Now, I'd like to take the next couple of minutes to kind of introduce you to who Jonathan is. We'll take a peek into what makes him so special to me before looking at some of his accomplishments and some future aspirations that he has. Let's take things back 21 years ago to Belgium, where a beautiful baby boy was born into a family of 3. Now, although his family was American, they spent very little time there. His parents were missionaries in Africa, where he was raised running around barefoot and making weapons out of sticks and stones with his older brother and eventually his 2 younger brothers as well. There, he also learned some really important skills and qualities that I think many people in this country often miss, and that is the ability to live simply and to really appreciate what you are given. And also, he developed this amazing sense of adventure that will rival anyone else's I have ever met. He also did a lot of traveling, and he makes friends so easily. And that brings us into what makes him so special to me. Because it was on one of these trips that our paths finally crossed. Taking a year off and coming to the States, Jonathan's family attended the same church that I did. And it was there, in the dim lights of the sanctuary, on the left side, 3 rows back, that I first saw him. Now, even in 3rd grade, he was the catch. He was the one that all the girls were giggling about when he had his back turned, and I fell head over heels for him. Well, as much as an 8-year-old can. And even for the 3rd grade, I was crazy about him. And what started out as a friendship, that 3rd grade year developed over time into this relationship, and 3 months ago, I married him. And what makes him so special to me is more than the fact that I caught the man that half the church had been chasing for years. And by half, I mean the entire female population. It's the fact that I married my best friend, the man who knows me best of all out of anyone and cares for me and provides for me. And most of all, he loves me, which took years of patiently and sometimes impatiently waiting for him to realize the fact. But don't let that fool you, because despite the fact that it took well over 12 years for him to finally realize this, he is incredibly smart and very, very driven. He is currently going to school to become a military chaplain. And if any of you know anything about military chaplaincy, the schooling alone takes a minimum of 7 years. He also spent 2 years in New Hampshire working with men at a rehabilitation center for those struggling with addiction. Jonathan is a very compassionate person, one of the most compassionate that I know, and he loves just to help people and take care of them. And that's one of the things that I have just loved about him so much. So far, I've talked a little bit about who Jonathan is. I told you what makes him so special to me, and then also a bit about some accomplishments of his and some future aspirations. And I know we really just scratched the surface. There's so much more that I wish I could share with you. But he is my Prince Charming, and I am so happy to have finally caught him. There was once someone that said, every once in a while, right in the middle of an ordinary life, love brings you a fairy tale. And I am so honored that I found mine with Jonathan, and that I found a man that still believes in soulmates and happily ever after.